Type of Selling: The Book of Sales Management Theory and Practice by Bill Donaldson. Newton's Classification of Sales Types. Extensive research by Derek Newton at Harvard led him to develop a four-way classification of selling types. These types were trade, missionary, technical, and new business selling. Newton related these categories to measures of performance by salespeople and to turnover rates in personnel. In trade selling, Newton found that the high performers were older, used extensive reporting, and were paid at least in part on commission. Less emphasis was placed on order taking, and selling could be termed low-key, where objectives centered around the need to build and maintain long-standing customer relationships. Missionary selling is typified by the pharmaceutical salesperson calling on doctors who specify the product but may neither stock nor use the product. Similar salespeople may be found in the building industry selling to specifiers such as architects. Here the emphasis is on good coverage and presentation to make sure that these influencers know of the product, its benefits and competitive advantages. In technical selling, more emphasis is placed on the professional level of salespeople who are technically competent with high levels of product knowledge, most common in industrial goods and services. In certain industries, technical qualification or a degree may be a prerequisite upon which selling skills can be built. With new business selling and development work, salespeople need the security of stable earnings but tend to be older and less trained than average. The implication is that young people find it difficult to cope with rejection and the lack of regular call patterns and customer relationships. McMurray and Arnold's classification of selling types. Various other classifications of selling have been suggested based on both theoretical and empirical grounds. One of the most widely quoted is that suggested by McMurray in 1961 and McMurray and Arnold in 1968. They built on the development or service spectrum to classify sales positions in terms of both the difficulty of making a sale and what they refer to as the creativity required by salespeople. There are 9 categories in order from 1 equals easy or routine to 9 equals difficult or creative, where inside order taker, such as a retail salesperson whose function is to serve the already committed customer. Critics might suggest that many customers for many products are not committed and therefore salespeople have the scope to close a sale or inadvertently put off customers. Delivery salesperson, where the prime function is the end result of the physical movement of goods. The importance of such a person will vary depending on the nature of the relationship between buyer and buying organization and seller and selling organization. Outside order taker. In the previous category, the prime function was physical delivery of the goods. In this category, the salesperson takes orders but does not deliver and may also fulfill other services such as checking stock, merchandising, and maintaining goodwill with retailers. Missionary salesperson. In this case, orders are not normally taken, but the salesperson is expected to educate prospects, generate goodwill, and encourage the product to be used or specified. The technical salesperson acts not only as a salesperson to the company but also as an advisor or consultant to the client. Creative salesperson tangibles. Included in this category is the direct selling of such products as double glazing, encyclopedias, and vacuum cleaners. Creative salesperson intangible. Similar to point 6 for services such as insurance, advertising, or sales training programs. Political or indirect salesperson, normally associated with large-scale contracts for raw materials such as coal to power stations, cement for road contracts, or other big-ticket items. Multiple salesperson, who is dealing with an organization usually over a period of years, such as selling aircraft or turbine engines, or services such as management consultancy, auditing, and other financial services. A modern classification of selling types, consumer direct. It has already been suggested that salespeople who deal directly with the public are the most visible and most familiar type of salesperson, but they do not represent the majority of people employed in selling jobs. Nevertheless, this is an important type of selling employing many people and also presents particular difficulties in their management and control. Direct salespeople are order getters who rely on selling skills and use canned presentations and conditioned response techniques to close sales. Industrial direct. In this category, salespeople are also order getters, the difference being in the scale and value of purchase, the length of negotiation, the organizational nature of the buying decision, and the use for which the product is required. Included here are products such as machine tools, aircraft, raw materials, and component parts purchased on a contact basis. High-level technical and negotiating skills are necessary, as are perseverance and business acumen. Government or institutional direct. This category has some similarity but differs in the organizational buying processes and usually in the way in which business is conducted. Here again, the system of tender requires salespeople to have insight into the organizational complexities as well as the personal characteristics of buyers' needs. Consumer direct. This is one of the most common types of selling in which salespeople are primarily employed on dealer or retailer service selling. Calls are normally made to retail outlets and salespeople carry out a variety of tasks in addition to taking others. Industrial indirect. Although much emphasis is given to the similarities and differences between industrial and consumer marketing, the industrial indirect salesperson's job may have much more in common with indirect consumer sales than with other forms of industrial selling. Most of the activity is on distributor support and service selling. Missionary sales. This category, identified by Newton, seems to warrant special mention. This is a difficult form of selling in which the sales to have the product or service is specified by a major influencer in the purchase decision rather than by the user of the product. Most prevalent in the pharmaceutical industry, missionary selling attempts to educate and train customers in the use of the product and therefore aims not at the one-off sale but at building relationships for future orders. Key account salespeople. Another category which warrants a special mention but which would normally be part of either consumer or industrial indirect selling companies, the so-called key account salespeople. The changing structure of major retailers, distributors, and other means for many companies that certain customers are of strategic importance. Food brokers. This idea of an agent representing many principals or manufacturers is not new and has been used in small tools, publishing, and other complex product markets. In the food industry, the growth of multiple shares to a dominant position and the importance of larger non-retail users have led to a problem in representation for the smaller company and the large buyer. Merchandising. As indicated by the success of food brokers, an important aspect of many companies' marketing success is to have available product superbly presented and displayed at the point of sale to maximize distributors' margins and make it easy and a pleasure for the end customer to buy. Tail sales. Ever cognizant of the high cost of selling and the low face-to-face selling time, An important consideration is to balance sales with other elements in the marketing mix and to consider the most effective selling mix. Telephone selling, like personal selling, requires good communication skills, empathy, and professionalism. System selling, team selling. The move from a sales orientation to a marketing orientation has changed the selling approach. Salespeople are more effective by understanding buyers' needs and providing and emphasizing benefits in their product or service to satisfy such needs rather than by merely exploiting the selling technique.